Okay, fingers crossed. I think we're good there this time. Uh, so let me go ahead and share my screen. This always challenges my technical capabilities. Talking about old dogs who can't learn new tricks. This is it in spades. Uh, okay, but I'm going to minimize that up there. So I'm hoping everybody can see the screen. Since I can't see you anymore, I'm hoping there are lots of nodding heads. So how to get rid of that? Anyway, hopefully you can't see that control bar down at the bottom. But so the topic today is teaching old dogs new tricks. I hope nobody's offended by that because certainly I very much include myself in that category. Not only the old dog part, but needing to learn new tricks. And so we're going to take a look at some things today that hopefully may make us better researchers, may lead to some breakthroughs, and make us a little smarter and better at what we're doing here. So we'll be exploring modern tools and techniques for genealogical research. And we're going to look at three main areas today and just hit some highlights in each one. We don't have the time or whatever to exhaustively cover each of these. But we're going to look at some online genealogical resources, some of which you may well be familiar with, but some maybe not. But in any case, it's good to review what's out there. The second section, we will be learning from the experts, exploring places and venues to take advantage of the vast amount of educational material that's out there now online in almost every area of genealogy research you can think of. And finally, we'll take a look at artificial intelligence in genealogy. And this is very definitely an area where this old dog is trying to learn new tricks. So I'm definitely in that. I do not approach that section as any kind of expert just up front, but we'll take a look at it and see what we can learn together today. So starting off with the online genealogical resources, we're going to take a look at three of the main sources that I would recommend for anyone. First, we'll look at Family Search's Research Wiki, which I think we've talked about in the past. And again, some of you or all of you may be familiar with. We'll look at Cindy's List, which again, very familiar. It's been around for years, but sometimes we kind of forget that it's there. And finally, we'll take a look at a relatively new site that may not be familiar to you, and it's called WikiTree. So the Family Search Research Wiki, how do you find it? Well, I'm sure you've all used Family Search. It's a free site. You create an account, log in, and then you can take advantage of all of the things that that site has to offer. Up at the top, if you click on the search tab option, you'll get a drop-down menu, different ways to search their site. And right here towards the bottom, you'll see Research Wiki. Clicking on that will take you to a page that looks something like this. There'll be an interactive map of the world. You can click on that, go to Asia or Europe or North America, Australia, Africa, wherever, or you can simply type in a location up in the search bar. I gave this presentation about a week ago to a genealogy group over in Honesdale, Pennsylvania, across the river from where I live. So I used Wayne County, Pennsylvania as an example. But this research wiki will go take you anywhere in the world, anywhere in the world. But in this case, you type in Wayne County, Pennsylvania, and it gives you a few options that are there. the first one that pops up at the top of the list is generally the one that you want to go to, whatever your search term is, and genealogy. So by going to that page, you'll see a page, and again, this may look familiar to everybody, but they're generally all set up in sort of the same format, so that once you get used to how they're organized and where to find things on there, it translates from place to place to place, because you don't have to look at different formatting and different layouts. Again, whatever the location is, it will give you some of the basic facts about that site. In this case, with Wayne County, when it was formed, the county seat, what county it was created out of, if it's not an original county, neighboring counties, that sort of thing. And then as we scroll down, take just another screenshot of lower on the page, you'll see that they're all different kinds of categories there. And within each category, it will describe records that are available pertinent to that category. It will also tell you what years that those records cover. And most importantly, too, it will tell you how to find those, either a direct link or an address to go to or whatever. Not all of the information on these pages is found on the Family Search website. Much of it is, but it will take you to sites if it's relevant, such as Ancestry or MyHeritage, subscription sites like that, and you would need a subscription to access those. But it will also take you to government sites and other types of organizations. It's not solely listed to what's on Family Search. It's good to know, and as I pointed out to the members of that genealogy group, they live in Wayne County. They probably have ancestors who have lived there for years, and they've probably been doing research in Wayne County, Pennsylvania for a number of years. So a lot of what's on this page might have been familiar to them, but there are probably things on there that were new to them, or that they have simply forgotten. So even if it's an area that you're familiar with and have done research in, it's still good to check these pages just to see if you've overlooked or missed or forgotten about any record sources that might exist. And in the case of an area or a part of the country or a county or a different country where you're not familiar with, you've not done a lot of research in, these research wikis are invaluable, because they will give you the lay of the land, instantly. Without a lot of searching and effort, you'll know what's available, what time period it covers, and how to find it. And I know in our work with the Parke Society and with the DNA Project, that's very valuable, because we may be looking at a Parke lineage, not our own or whatever, in some county in Iowa or over in Scotland or Northern Ireland that we're just not familiar with. And these research wiki pages will give us a good basic understanding of what exists. And it also gives us a good example or information on what does not exist. For instance, if you're looking at a county page and you're looking at land records, the page will tell you the year range that are covered, where those records exist, the time period those records exist for. So if you're looking for a land record in a period perhaps earlier than the records start, you know instantly that you're not probably going to find them, because they're just not available. So this is all very, very, very helpful. Again, I'm sure a lot of you have probably used these, but even if you have, we need to remind ourselves sometimes that this is a good resource. And really, when you're going to some location to start research that you're not that familiar with, this should really be your first stop, and take it from there. So that's the research wiki. There are videos out there. We'll talk about finding videos in a moment, but there are certainly videos out there that will give you guidance in how to use it better, perhaps give you more information. But we're going to move on, and the next site we'll talk about is Cindy's List, which again, as I said, has been around for a good while, certainly probably 20 years or more. It started back in those early days of online genealogy. If we can all remember those early days of Roots Web message boards and that sort of thing, when there was very little out there other than finding each other and exchanging information and asking questions. Now, on Cindy's List, you're not going to find any real genealogy information in and of itself. What it is, as its name implies, is it is a list of links to sites that will have the kind of information that you're looking for. It's a real guide, something like the Family Research Wiki. It's organized very straightforwardly. There are categories on just about every aspect of that you might want to explore in terms of your genealogy research, and they're categorized and listed alphabetically. You can do a search up at the top. Actually, that search bar is not necessarily always that helpful because it's really, as it says, enhanced by Google. So when you're doing a search there, it's going to search Cindy's List, but also other sources. So you might have to sort of sort through your hits to find what's on Cindy's List. The easiest, most straightforward way is to simply find the category, open it up, and see what links are there, and go from there. Again, because I was talking to the people in let me admit somebody here very quickly here. Okay. Because I was talking to people in Wayne County, I used them as an example again, and I chose United States, chose Pennsylvania, chose Wayne County, and we saw that there were 42 links related in some way to records about Wayne County, Pennsylvania, divided into further categories: birth, marriage, death, cemeteries, census, general resources. So that's the way we sort of work our way through Cindy's List. We go to the next page. If my computer is sort of freezing up here, I'm not being able to advance to the next. Well, my computer screen had my PowerPoint has frozen. Problem I don't think I've ever encountered before, but we've got it now. I'm going to see if I can exit, and that doesn't seem to be working. Okay, now it's working. I apologize. So we clicked on the general resources page of those links. Again, you can see there's several links there about general resources for Wayne County, and you'll see the second one down there takes you to the Family Search Wiki for Wayne County, Pennsylvania. So even if you weren't familiar with the Research Wiki, by going to Cindy's List, you would eventually get there. So that's Cindy's List. No need to dwell on it. Again, I'm sure probably a lot of you are familiar and have used it. But again, it's one of those sites, speaking personally, I tend to forget to go there and take advantage of it a lot of times. So moving on to the third one, we're talking about WikiTree. And it strikes me, well, this is a relatively new site. It's been around a while, but not for a great long while. So some of you may be familiar with it, some not. Before we go any further, though, the name WikiTree, and we had the Research Wiki at Family Search, and of course you've heard of Wikipedia. What is a wiki? I had to look it up, but the term comes from a Hawaiian word, wiki, which means fast or speedy. And years ago, a web developer came up and named this sort of thing the World Wide Wiki. And it's basically a website where people can collaborate on editing either a website or a document or something like that. And the speedy part, I guess, comes from it's a more efficient way to do that with a group of people. And just like Wikipedia, anybody there can go into a Wikipedia article and edit it, add content, correct things, change things. Everybody can work on that. In terms of the research wiki at Family Tree, I'm sure there are a number of people who work and collaborate on those, but it's, I'm sure, a limited group, a controlled group. WikiTree is like many other sites, like the big family tree on Family Search or things like that. It's a place for people to upload information to create a family tree on this site. Cite sources, do all of that sort of thing. You can also link DNA results to a certain ancestor, and people can explore and utilize that information. It's a free site. I've uploaded a fairly small portion of my family tree simply because I just don't have time to go back and keep adding to it. But I do take advantage of this site in a great deal, and it's growing. It's a very large site, as you can see down here. At the time I did the screen grab, not too long ago, they had over 1.2 million members, 43 million ancestors and cousins in their trees, uh, 15, almost 15 and a half million of which have DNA connections. So you can see the potential for this is considerable. Uh, like any other online tree at Family Search or Ancestry or MyHeritage or anywhere, you have to take what you see under advisement. You take it at face value and then prove it for yourself. Uh, it's not immune to the same uh, problems that we find in any online tree of conflicting information, incorrect information, incomplete information, but it is another source for finding people. I use it as a researcher for the Parke Society and the DNA Project to try to learn more about a line that I'm not familiar with, and I'm trying to research to see if anybody out there has those people in their family trees, and they've posted it. And you can actually get in touch with those people and collaborate, exchange information, try to correct information that might be incorrect. We know that doesn't always work, but at least the potential's there. For instance, if I'm looking for somebody in WikiTree, it's got standard search fields. Just as an example, my old friend Wilma and Dan and our Samuel Parks in Orange County, North Carolina, I put in a search for Samuel Parks in North Carolina, not too specific, and see what comes up. And you can see there are 11 matches. The first guy in there is our fellow. He left a will in October 1788, so I know that's our guy. There's a family tree there. I can go see what kind of information they have posted on there. If I want to get in touch with this James Dignan, who posted it, obviously he's a descendant. I can get in touch with him. Going down the list, there's a Samuel Larkin Parks. Some of you in the society will know that just looking at that name, it's going to tell you that with 99% certainty, he's probably a descendant of what we call lineage key C, the Thomas of Virginia line, because the Larkin name is common to that line and really in no other that we've really discovered. And there's some other names in that line, Fielding or Fielden, which tell you almost instantly, that it's part of that line. The third guy, another Samuel Parks in Chowan County, North Carolina. Because of our DNA and other research, I know he is genetically connected to those of us in Group 008. This was a Quaker family. Chowan and Perquimans counties were over on the east coast of North Carolina. And again, if I want to get in touch with Kathy Stumpenhaus, great, uh, great name, then I can do so. The next one down is our guy at the top again, Samuel Parks in Orange County, a different person I can also get in touch with. So you can see if you're looking for a specific person, you could, of course, make more refined search terms to edit them down. But it's a great way to find other descendants, other people who are researching and make contact. So that's WikiTree in a nutshell. Check it out. Again, it's free. So what do you got to lose? Uh, so moving on to that second large section, we're going to be talking about learning from the experts. As I pointed out to the group in Wayne County last week, they meet in person during the warm weather months. So this last meeting in October was their last in-person meeting until next May. So they got 6 months of no in-person meetings, and they haven't yet taken advantage of the miracle that Zoom is. So I pointed out to them, you've got 6 months during the winter when the weather is likely to be not ideal. You're going to be spending more time at home and have more time to sit at the computer and take advantage of all of the wonderful resources out there for learning about different aspects of genealogy. And today we'll take a quick look at just 3 of them. Legacy Family Tree webinars, which we've spoken about, I think, more than once here in these meetings, but we'll take another look at it. And then Genealogy TV with Connie Knox on YouTube, and the Barefoot Genealogist, Krista Cowan, also on YouTube. So Legacy Family Tree webinars. Again, not to be redundant, but we talked about it. It is a subscription site. Don't let that scare you off. It is $49.95 US dollars per year. That comes out to $1 and change a week. Certainly not up there the way a subscription to some of the other sites like Ancestry and all of those can be. So very affordable. And for the money that you're spending, you will get a return on your investment many, many, many times over. I guarantee it. As you can see there on their website, they have over 2,500 different video webinars there available. Well over 400 speakers, all of them knowledgeable in the area that they're presenting on. Some of them, many of them, are among the top experts in that particular field that they're presenting on. And just as importantly, I think, is the fact that there are over 10,000 syllabus pages. And to me, that is of equal value to the content that you're going to learn in the videos themselves. So much information in there. And we'll take a look at that in just a moment. So down at the bottom, you can see there are a list of categories that they're sort of organized into. Here's a page that shows some of that. And you can see ranging from up there, a whole series of beginner videos if somebody's starting out on a wide range of topics. There's a section on DNA testing. Absolutely every aspect and every type of DNA testing there is. So if you want to learn from people who really know their stuff, there's plenty of information there. There's a whole section on family search, how to use the different aspects of it and get to know more about it, including the use of the full text search, which we'll talk about in a minute. And you can see just other kinds of, the whole Canadian research section, Down Under series, which would be Australia, New Zealand, different parts of the world. So organized, easily defined, but you can also, again, use their search bar. And because I was talking to this group in Pennsylvania, I simply did a search for Pennsylvania, and we discovered they have 7 videos on there just about doing research in the state of Pennsylvania, different aspects. How did my Pennsylvania ancestor get there? The migration trails west, researching your Pennsylvania ancestors, best online resources for Pennsylvania genealogy, locating Pennsylvania vital and religious records. What's a prothonotary? Pennsylvania court and legal records. Had fun with that because I don't know how many of you are familiar with the term prothonotary. Uh, as far as I know, I haven't done an exhaustive search, but it seems to be largely applicable to Pennsylvania. I haven't run across it being used in many other locations, but it's basically a sort of a clerk in a courthouse that it has control over the court and legal records. And finally, searching for a Pennsylvania German ancestor. So you can do this search on any number of topics here. Try one on artificial intelligence. There are 4 videos there on different aspects. Now, you might find it a little odd that there are out of 2,500 webinars, there are only 4 about artificial intelligence. But in terms of the long lifespan of online genealogy, artificial intelligence is brand spanking new. It was introduced to the world of genealogy really at the Roots Tech conference in 2023. So we're talking a little over 2 years that it's really been on the radar for using artificial intelligence in genealogy. I'm sure as time goes on, because it's a rapidly developing field, there will be more videos along the way, and they will, while these are not out of date, most of the information in there will be true and will be true down the road. But as things develop and things are some in aspects and finer points of it are superseded by new developments, I'm sure people will post updated videos on that. When you go to a webinar page, this is what you'll see. This is one of the artificial intelligence. You'll see the opening screen there. And just like any video online, there's a little button to hit to start play. Over on the side is a helpful feature, sort of a table of contents. The presentations are usually presented in sections, little topic sections, and they'll be listed over there, along with the timing, the amount of time devoted to them on the video. What I find useful about this is when you want to go back, rewind, or simply come back later to rewatch a video, and there was perhaps a point that the speaker made that you want to revisit, perhaps you didn't take sufficient notes and you want to hear it again, then you can use this table of contents to more quickly find it. For instance, if there were some point and you seem to remember it was in the section called Second Look at ChatGPT, then all you have to do is very quickly in your head just add up the minutes and seconds roughly preceding it and know that, okay, that section is going to start roughly around 21 minutes into the video. So you just start it, fast forward, and hopefully find what you're looking for. The other aspect is down here, you will see a little icon for the syllabus, which will be attached to, as far as I know, every video will have a syllabus associated with it. Some of them are 2-3 pages long. I've seen some as long as 6 pages, but all of them contain really, really good resources. And they will generally be things that the speaker has referred to or touched upon in the video, but because of the time factor, they can't possibly go into all of those in any great depth. But here is your way to find more about what they're talking about. When you open that up, it will open up as a PDF file, and you can view it online. You can download it and save it to your computer. You could print it out if you wish. So it's very, very, very helpful. So again, I think that's as important an aspect of family tree webinars as the videos themselves. But it's not the only source out there, and certainly here's one that you might be familiar with, Genealogy TV, Connie Knox. You can subscribe to it, and you'll get notifications whenever they post a new podcast or a new video. They generally put things out roughly about once a week or so. They vary in length from 20-something minutes to an hour or more. on a wide variety of topics. Connie Knox is very often the presenter on these, but she will often bring in another person to help present or lead the presentations. You can see this is just a screenshot of, at the time, the most recent 8 videos that were on her site. You can see in the bottom row there, there's indeed a video about using AI for family history. Over to the right of that, there's a nearly hour-long U.S. Census deep dive, really going into great detail. There are beginners types of videos and things more advanced. And as I said, she does occasionally use other speakers. For instance, here, talking about Ancestry DNA updates, she has Krista Cowan as a guest speaker, which leads us to the next source. Krista Cowan has her own sort of video channel, if you will. She is known as the Barefoot Genealogist. I had the pleasure of attending a presentation of hers last spring in Louisville, Kentucky at the NGS conference. And she does indeed speak with bare feet. Not just speak with her bare feet, she speaks in her bare feet. And she gave a very amusing explanation of why that came to be and how she came to be known as the Barefoot Genealogist. I won't spoil it because I think she probably explains that somewhere online, and she would tell it far better than I do. But she will present on a variety of topics. But you should know that she is also the corporate genealogist for Ancestry. This is a sort of a side gig. It's not directly associated with Ancestry, but many of her topics will deal with different aspects of Ancestry, including some sort of beginning level about building a family tree there, Ancestry DNA 101, how to make the most of your match list, things like that. And then down here, a little bit more advanced talk about Ancestry Pro tools, which you may have heard of, you may be using them. She spoke about that topic in some detail back in Louisville, and she was enough of a salesperson to convince me to go ahead and pony up a few extra dollars a month to take advantage of them. And so far, I think it's worth it. But that's something you can decide for yourself if you want to check it out. These are not the only people out there. Of course, there are 400 and something people on Legacy Family Tree, but the Connie Knox and Krista are not the only two out there on YouTube as well. And you'll discover them if you do a search in Google or DuckDuckGo or any search engine. Just do a search for whatever topic of genealogy you might be looking for, and click on the video option, and they'll pop up. And there's, as I said, there's a lot of stuff out there. And the beauty of it is it's there at our command 24/7. You can bring up one of these, you can watch 10 minutes of it and then go get a cup of coffee or answer the phone or whatever you want to do and come back to it. And you're not restricted to sitting and watching something in real time. And again, I have recently used AI, as some of you may know, to help me create a weekly schedule going forward, starting tomorrow. We'll see how that works. But in that weekly schedule I had AI help me create, I left time, a slot of time every week for sitting down and accessing some of these videos, because it's very easy to just never find the time to go there. So I'm making a point to set aside time and try to work my way through some of these. And that's something that certainly you could do as well. So moving on to the last section, artificial intelligence and genealogy. As I said at the top, I'm not any further along than you are in this category. In fact, I'm sure some of you probably have more experience than I do. We'll take a look first at family searches full text search, which we have talked about again in other meetings, but we'll take a little more in-depth look at it here. And then we'll look at some of the other ways and the other aspects of AI that can help us in genealogy. So first of all, how do we find the full text search? Again, go to the family search site, hit the search tab, the drop-down menu, and there it is near the top. Now, this is a recent development because up until just a couple of weeks or more ago, you had to go down to the bottom of the homepage, and there was a box there for experimental labs. This was in beta testing. It was very limited in scope. Sometimes it was available, sometimes it was not, as they were working on it, working the bugs out. Recently, finally, they decided they were at a point where they could fully incorporate it into their search functions on the website. So there it is in that drop-down menu. Very easy to find now. A little bit of explanation, and this is, again, it's a little out of date. Family Search's full text search is an experimental tool, well, not any longer, that uses AI to create searchable transcriptions of historical documents, and importantly, including handwritten ones. Just, almost mind-blowing that it can do that, but it allows us to search for every word within a record, not just names and certain other terms, making it easier to find records with AI-generated transcriptions, another very important aspect of it. You can refine searches using filters, just like you do with any other kind of search terms. And the important thing about the AI is, it is, as it says, you can search for every word within a record. Now, certainly, the Family Search has been digitizing their voluminous amount of microfilm records that they've had for many, many years. And over the last few years, they've made an incredible push to digitize as much of that as they can. And I think they're probably pretty close to being complete now. And certainly, many of those digitized records have been searchable. How did they do that? Well, they had an army of volunteers, human beings who manually volunteered to index each of those record collections. And because of that sort of hands-on human effort, they were only able to limit themselves to certain search terms, names, obviously, things like that. So yes, you could search before, but you were somewhat limited in the kind of search terms you could enter. Now with AI, every word in the document is searchable. Theoretically, you could do a search for the word "the." It wouldn't make sense because you would probably get back every page in the collection. But it's the point that it's not limited to anything. You can search for absolutely any word or term in these records. Again, in this context, it is a search tool that enables you to search within a digital document. It leverages AI to transcribe the text of the document, including handwritten ones, and making them searchable. And we'll take a look at what that looks like in just a second. It's been described as a game changer because it helps users find records they might have otherwise missed. I can totally support that statement. It is indeed a game changer in my experience, and it has helped me in multiple instances find records that I would have otherwise missed, that I just wouldn't have known were out there. Even probably doing a fairly extensive search within their catalog. And the things that it's brought up have made major advances in our own personal research on our group OOA. So I can attest to that aspect. How do you use it? You access it through the main search menu, as we saw. using filters, much like you do any other time, any other kind of search function. And obviously the same kinds of things using quotation marks. And that's very important with AI, an AI search, because it's looking for every word in a document. If you want to search for a certain person, such as John Smith, you want to put quotations around it because otherwise AI is going to bring every instance of John and every instance of Smith in that document, in that collection. So you're going to get a lot of documents for not just John Smith, but John Jones, John White, John Baker, John Parks, you name it. Also, with Smith, you'll get Roger Smith, Thomas Smith, Mary Smith, Elizabeth Smith. So you do want to use those quotes. And like in other types of search, sometimes you want to try reversing the order of the given and surname because, as you know, a lot of old records are indexes, and many indexes, wills and deed indexes, you have the surname first and then the given name. And using wildcards or searching for different spelling variations in a name, which we all are familiar with the Parke surname as well as any other surnames in our family tree. So what it offers, and we'll see an example of that in a moment, are these AI generated transcriptions off to the side. Now, when this was in beta, just a matter of a few months ago, some of those transcriptions were pretty hairy. Trying to read that old cursive handwriting, words with the double S where the one looks like an F, that sort of thing, kind of threw AI for a loop. But the beauty of AI is that it does learn as it goes. It learns from its mistakes and its successes, and it has gotten better, noticeably better, to those of us who have been using it for a while, and it will continue to get better. That's the good point about that. It will summarize the document as well, and in some cases it will translate into English something from a different language, and that capacity I think will continue to grow over time to include more and more foreign languages. But that can be very handy if, for instance, you're researching a German ancestor and there are records in German, and like me, even with 2 years of high school German, has flown out the window. So that's a very, very handy feature. You can see the actual record image with the transcription by the side. You can look back and forth, compare them, and your keywords, your search words, as we'll see, will be highlighted. So you can zoom in on them without searching through a long, sometimes handwritten document. You can also take advantage of attaching that record directly to someone in your family search tree if you have one, or adding it to your source box, neither of which I really do, but you can also download that information again to your computer. You can then upload it to your own family genealogy software program if you wish, or save it and use it in any way possible. So it makes it very, very handy for you. Again, looking at the search field, we'll throw in Samuel Parks again because of one of those discoveries through an AI search. Not only do we know he was in Orange County, North Carolina, but we are pretty sure earlier he came from an area in Virginia encompassing Brunswick County. So I'm going to do a search for Samuel Parks in Brunswick County, Virginia in the British colonial period up to 1776. And you'll see I get 76 hits. Can you imagine how long it would take you to have sort of discovered those manually, searching through all sorts of different records? This is just, it is a game changer. So the first hit there is a deed book 6 from that time period. And you'll see it will give you a bit of a preview of the transcription with your search terms highlighted. If you want to see a little bit more, you can click the more. Over on the right hand at the bottom, it will tell you how many matches of your search terms appear in that document. In this case, there are 8. And then, of course, on the left, you'll see a little icon for the actual document image. If we click on that, that's what you'll bring up. Again, there's the image, the handwritten document with the search terms highlighted. Over on the right, there's a transcription. You can edit and make corrections on that. If they didn't quite get something right, you can change it and fix it up. Uh, Up at the top of that, a drop-down menu will allow you to view a summary of the document. In cases of, say, a will, a handwritten will, it will pull out where people are, names of people mentioned in the will, and where the relationships are spelled out. It will list them. You know, Mary Parke's wife, Alexander Parke's son, Nancy, daughter, William Rainey, uh, administrator, that sort of thing. Very handy for pulling out vital information from a document. And up at the top, of course, you have options to download various combinations of things. You can download just the record, the document image itself. You can download that with the transcription or the summary. You can download that with the source citation information all in one, which makes it very handy when you're wanting to cite this document in a family tree software of your own. So very, very, very useful, very useful. Other aspects of AI, the AI full text search, of course, is only going to search and find things within the family search catalog. But there, as we know, there's a lot of other information out there in different places, and we can use AI to do much the same thing that the full text search will do in family search. You can again get a record from Ancestry or MyHeritage or Roots Ireland or wherever, and transcribe and translate it just as you can do on full text search. You can translate from foreign languages. You can have it analyze records and data to find patterns across large data sets. This is the area that I have not had time to explore yet, but the potential there is really fascinating. It can match records across databases, and it can even come up with research strategies for you. What next steps you might want to take, and that sort of thing. Very helpful. It can deal with DNA results. It can analyze genetic markers to cluster DNA matches into family networks. Actually, that's being done on a lot of the DNA sites now. Ancestry recently started using that, and I think some of the others have too. And that is driven by AI. But in that case, Ancestry is doing that work for you. It can build family networks, predict relationships in terms of DNA, and sort the matches into maternal and paternal lines. And of course, many of the DNA sites already do that for you. But again, that's all AI driven. Other areas, and you may have some experience with that, photo restoration. There are many sites that you can go on for either free or a nominal fee or something, and take an old black and white photo and colorize it. You can clean up old photos that have damage on them, spots or a crease or corner of it torn off or that sort of thing, or not, a bit faded or something. And AI can, bring those back to life. They can also help identify people in old photos. For instance, if you have a photo of an ancestor, that is that person at a certain age, and then you've got another group photo that you think they might be in that group, but nobody's identified. AI can probably help you pick them out if they're there, and also probably across different time periods. You might be able to find. You might have a photo of somebody at an early age, not as a child, but a young adult, say, and then someone later in life. And AI may be able to help you identify that as the same person. Uh, well, I didn't see it on there, but also one of the aspects that they can do, and it's been turning up recently, is taking old photos and animating them. I played around with that some quite a while ago when it was in its infancy, and just it would just be very slight, a little movement of the head and the eyes, a slight smile. Now I've seen examples of, say, your parents or grandparents' wedding photo, and they're standing there, and it will bring them to life. They'll begin to dance with each other, or whirl around, or interact. And in some ways, some of it might be a little creepy, but in other ways, I think it has the ability to take some of those old photos of ancestors who were sitting there very stiffly and sternly because you had to get the image created back in those days, and it can animate them and really make them sort of come alive as a living person in front of your eyes. So that's an interesting, and I'm going to play around with that some, I think, as we go forward. Some of the other aspects, it can create narratives. We all sometimes like to create family booklets or things that we can distribute to family members. I did one back in the early 2000s for my second great grandparents on down. And it took a bit of effort in writing, and I was fairly pleased with the results. But if you have any reservations about maybe how to craft it or the actual writing, you feed all of that information into AI. It can do that job for you. It can write for you. And recently, I've had experience with having AI take a look at some of my newsletter articles and things like that, and have it rewrite it. And I have to admit, I like its results far better than my own stuff. So uh, give that a shot, and it takes some of the hesitancy out of maybe doing something that you'd like to do, but you just don't know where to start, or you don't feel like your writing skills are maybe up to the job. So check that out. It can generate reports for you, taking information in there and condensing it, putting it in a form that you can use. It can, again, as it says, highlight ambiguities or missing sources. It can help you see where you need to do further research. So that's, again, another aspect of what it can do. Once again, my screen seems to be freezing. Just bear with me because it seems like it healed itself last time. But uh, if it doesn't, then we are very near the end. So I think perhaps rather than wait for that to happen, we'll just wrap up and say that there are many, many different aspects of AI that can be utilized. Now, certainly we hear about AI in the news every day in other areas of life, and it does is not without controversy, and we're not going to really dwell on that here. But it's a conversation that you or an investigation you might want to explore. But in terms of genealogy, I think there are a lot of positives, and it's worth checking out. And again, going back to our learning from the experts section, uh, there are ways out there to find out from the people who do have experience with it and can help you. Because just like DNA was years ago, any new area, any new tool in genealogy comes along, we sometimes keep our distance and we hesitate to get involved and learn about it because it's not something we know about. It's new, unfamiliar. But if somebody can give you some of the basics and take you, through the first steps of learning and exploring it, the more you do, the more you learn, the less unfamiliar it becomes. And I'm counting on that for myself to begin to explore more and more and more in the use of AI and genealogy. So it looks like my screen is still frozen. So I'm going to stop the share and sort of end the presentation there. And thanks for your attention. Uh, if we've solved our echo problem, feel free to unmute yourself if you've got questions or comments or want to add anything to this discussion.
Hey, Ken, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Obviously, I mean, you've built up sort of this catalog of sources that you've used and are using. But what did you turn to first that you felt like sort of put you on the path? Like you mentioned, like the genealogy TV and the barefoot genealogist on YouTube. Where did you start?
Well, in terms of that learning from the experts section and the videos, I would say go to Legacy Family Tree webinars first.
Yeah.
There's certainly a lot of other stuff out there, and it's free. But the cost for that is, as I said, it's pennies a week. And just the vast amount of stuff that's there, and it's always increasing. Now, one thing I didn't point out about that is that many of their videos are free to the public. You can view them live as they're happening at no charge, and very often the video the recording will be available for say a week or something after that, again for free, before it goes behind the paywall. I'm not sure that every video they produce is done that way, but there's certainly some out there. And I think there's a way to just go on the site and see, what's happening, what's free, check it out, and just see if you think it's worth, the investment of the $50.
Thank you.
Did I put everybody to sleep?
No.
uh, if you've got comments or questions or anything about anything else, it doesn't have to be about this topic today. Gary, I see a hand.
Hey, Ken, a great presentation. I really enjoyed it. AI is something I've been wanting to look into, but haven't ventured out there yet. You mentioned the future. Well, I think we've talked about this in the past with DNA. There's a lot of the big Y 700 test. The big Y part uses the SNP looks at, but there's past the 111 markers, there's like 500 and I don't know plus markers that really are not utilized. And we talked about in the past that maybe FTDNA would utilize AI to analyze all those markers. And I wonder if you've run into anything like that yet, or got any sense of how far down the road that might be.
I haven't seen any discussion about that. Doesn't mean it hasn't taken place, but as you know, and I think I've only attended one of them, but David Vance, who's a very accomplished genealogist and particularly in DNA, within the last year or so, took a position with FTDNA, and he's been doing, I think they're monthly get-togethers online where any of project administrators can join, and it's again ask questions, find out things, and that could be something that we could raise in one of those, a topic, if there's nothing out there already online. But yeah, it would say that's one of the frustrations is why are you giving us all of these extra, they're called stir markers, as opposed to the SNP mutations in the big Y. Why are you giving them all of those when we can't even display them online? We can only go up to 111.
The future, man.
and there's no way to really take a look at them and use them. So why are they there? But it certainly seems like AI should be able to handle something like that, and there may be patterns in those additional markers that AI could suss out for us.
Absolutely, because with the SNP markers, you've got an average of a mutation every 3 generations. So you have those voids in your tree of,
Hmm.
2, 3, 4 generations. And, um, right now we can't look in there in that void space. And with the possibility of analyzing all those stirs, I mean, that could be a game changer right there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's try to get to one of those meetings, or some other way, get the word in there and ask them about that, because
Yeah,
it's sitting there, it's just
I,
sitting there.
I enjoy Dave Vance's speeches.
Yeah.
He's really good.
Hmm. Anybody else? I know, well, Wilma.
Yes, uh, uh, that Family Search AI tool, the first day that I found out that they had it, which was very shortly after they announced it, I immediately went up there to see what I could do with it. And I found a document relative to the Hugh Parks, my Hugh Parks, that was
Mhm.
a Revolutionary War soldier that I had never seen. And I've been researching him for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I found a new document the very first day with that AI. So I've been teaching it to my DAR genealogy group that we have once a month, and
Hmm.
everybody's just fascinated with it. So get
Yeah.
busy and use it.
Oh
It-
yeah. If you haven't tried it, do, because you'll be amazed, I think. Yeah.
It is amazing.
Yay.
I've used AI quite a lot because I've told you I've written this book for my granddaughter, and we got back to really named Vikings and the year 600, and I've used the AI a lot to sort of try and discover what was part of the legend and myths and what was actually historical about the characters in the tree. And it's summarized that from different sources, from different Viking sagas and from actual French Norman documents as well for me, which I found it extremely helpful.
Yep. Yep. And I apologize because I created this presentation again for this group over in Pennsylvania. So it was sort of US centric, but for those of you here who live overseas, and for those of us who are beginning to do more research overseas, the beauty of these resources here, for instance, the research wikis, that takes us over there to those areas that we are not familiar with, and gives us a really good grounding. And of course, uh, those the videos in the learning from the experts, there are videos on all aspects of searching and researching overseas. One of them, there's more than one. There's a gentleman named Paul Milner, who, again, I attended one of his presentations in Louisville last spring. He is, wow, what he's forgotten about researching in the British Isles would, yeah, and not only are his presentations very chock full of information, but he has incredible resource pages, just full. You don't even realize that there's that much available. And we often sit here, I do, well, let's go on Ancestry, let's go on Family.
No.
There is,
I've
that's such a tiny sliver of the pie compared to what's really out there.
I've just started doing classes, giving classes again, just to some caregivers. It's a sort of respite class for them, and it's amazing what's actually available to when I was starting 30 years ago. But I mean, the questions they're asking me, like, how do I do Italian? How can I research my Italian ancestors? And with the research wiki and I produced a document in 15 minutes
Wow.
for them to sort of give to them in class, kind of thing. It's absolutely amazing how much easier it is.
Yeah. Oh
Because
yeah.
as soon as I got asked that question, I felt thrown for a little while. But it is so easy to get there, and
Mhm.
Italy was split into every single province, kind of thing. It was very
Yeah.
good. So it's worth
No,
it.
I mean, those of us who, are of a certain age and have been doing this for a while, realize that uh, if we are not living through the golden age of genealogy research, we are certainly on the cusp of it. I'm sure in 5 or 10 years down the road, people will look back and think this was pretty primitive. But knowing where we all started from before the internet was a factor, when people had to write letters and all of this by correspondence. I mean, the fact that, if you're familiar, there are several books by a Frank Sylvester Parks in the early 19 teens and 20s who worked in Washington, D.C. And he researched his New England Parks roots, and then he branched out and actually did other lines beyond his own. But it was an amazing job of compiling information at a time when none of this existed. None of it existed. So we should sort of thank our lucky stars that we are around and able to access the stuff that's out here.
One of the things I was pleased about, I'm running the courses in our local studies and archives centre. So I'm very, very aware, because I've worked in that centre for 30 years now, of what is not on the internet and what is still available.
Yeah.
In the local heritage centre. So yeah, and in the UK, it's not always advisable to go to Ancestry. A lot of the UK research is through Find My Past, which is sort of I think it's got slightly more to offer in the UK than Ancestry. Okay.
Yeah. Sarah, thank you for that comment. I hope everybody else could see it, but she says she grieves the loss of letter writing. Yes, because if you were lucky enough to come across troves of those old letters and things in the family, they give you such an insight into what those people were like that you can't get from records. Ted.
Yeah, that's the thing that I've been very concerned about, was the fact that letters don't exist anymore. It's all online, it's emails or text messages, and once they're deleted, they're gone. There's no record unless you happen to print it out for some reason. And 95% of the people would never print out an email or text message. I'm lucky enough that I have a whole series of letters that were written by my brother Dean, who was an officer in the Second World War in the European theater, to my mother's sis. And I have letters from both sides. And it was when, after her funeral, when I was flying back here to Milwaukee, I was on the plane and I was going through her letters. And it was such an interesting thing to read, talking about Carmichael, the drake we had, and Spick and Span, the two ducks we had, and how she would find their eggs, had been hidden in the flower bed. And the one that really tickled me was my father was called Raja. And she made a comment about the fact, well, she hoped that Raja didn't break his neck when he went downstairs and discovered that the bottom step was gone, because I had to use it to kindle the coal furnace again. But that's gone. But the other thing that's also gone is, cemeteries, and that, not everybody gets ashes or body gets put in the ground somewhere, and not everybody buys a tombstone. There's one of our big cemeteries here, Forest Home. They have this pit that's not far from the opening into the cemetery, where people can go and dump their ashes in there. And technically, you're supposed to buy a plate that goes on the side of a thing saying that that's where there's ashes for them there. But people's ashes, sometimes you never know where they're going to end up. They may end up. A friend of mine who died, and his ashes were put at the Cathedral of All Saints. His niece was hunting, trying to find out where he was buried, and she knew my name was connected, and so she got a hold of me. And yes, I can tell you where the ashes are. I can show you where they are. But a lot of times ashes are kind of buried wherever. They're divided up. Maybe some are at a homestead, and And I remember, do you remember the play 5th of July? Richard Thomas, I think, was one of the leads in it.
Say that.
At the beginning, they were talking about
Oh,
Uncle. Huh?
5th of July. I didn't catch it. My hearing's
Yeah,
bad.
at the beginning of it, they talk about an uncle that was cremated, and his ashes were mixed in a flower bed where they were growing tomatoes. And the joke was, just remember, you might be eating part of your uncle here. But that's all going away. It's going to be more and more difficult to find grave sites or to find records of where did they get finally buried or interred. So it's going to be more difficult in the future to find actual connections to your ancestors. In 100 years, when they start looking back at us, they may have a lot of difficulty trying to find us again.
Well, that may be true, but you know what? It ain't my problem. 100 years from now, somebody out there can work that out.
That's the biggest question I get asked from American researchers. Can you please tell me where Auntie Such a Body was buried in Tameside? And there are so many places that it could possibly be. It's needle in a haystack time. But it is actually the most requested question I get.
Interesting. George, you had your hand up.
Yeah. Just a bit of advice for everybody. For goodness sake, back up your information. I've just had a little situation where I've lost my complete documents folder, which had everything that is not on Ancestry and on Family Tree Maker, but there's a lot of documentation that I've lost, photographs that I've lost. I can probably get them again, but and it was all because of a silly error on my behalf, because I changed the hard drives from the normal hard drives to solid state, and I missed one little instruction. I skipped it, and I tried to retrieve information off the hard drive, because fortunately no information had been written to it, but I didn't get everything back. So it's very frustrating. But a hard lesson. So now I back up to one drive and then I back up to another. So it's like closing the barn door after the horse is bolted. It doesn't really help.
It's painful to hear. It's painful to hear that, and I think we all feel your pain. Are you sure there isn't a 12-year-old somewhere who could find that?
Figure out how to get it back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. Talking about AI, ChatGPT has worked overtime, because I work with Linux. I don't use Windows. And I said to ChatGPT, it was actually helping me do the whole transfer and so on. So I missed one of its instructions. And I said to it, oh, hell, I've just lost everything. And said, no, don't worry, we'll do this, we'll do that. And I went through and I managed to retrieve a lot of stuff, but not everything. So, but, it is just a very, very hard and difficult lesson to learn. So for goodness sake, just back up all your information.
Cindy,
don't rely on thinking that some is on Ancestry and some is on Family Search and Wikitree and places like that. It's just, if you haven't got paper, back it up anyway.
It's Cindy, who the Ask Cindy had done she was at a conference I attended, and this was now a couple years ago, but in the conversation she said you can never back up enough. And I kind of walked away from that conference a little fearful. So it's back on OneDrive. I've got an external hard drive. I've got things on my computer, but it's all backed up but to her point, you've also got to be thinking, as new things are introduced for storage and because floppy disks no longer exist, and you've got to keep up with technology. But it's I've lost a lot of things over time, but that conversation that Cindy had with us at the conference, I was like, oh, I've got to change my ways, because too much could have been lost.
Yeah.
Well, they do advise that you have one hard drive which is actually stored off premises
Yeah.
Because I mean, you could have a fire, there could be, anything could happen, and your hard drives that are the initial backups, they can go missing or get destroyed. So at least if you've got one offside. But this is the problem. We think, oh, well, that's such a hassle. But I've learned, as I said, I've learned a hard lesson. Yeah. So my next step is backing up offsite.
That's heartbreaking, George.
Yeah.
Just if I can jump in for a second, I just opened up the chat, which I should have done along. But Magali makes a very good point about Legacy Family Tree webinars, is that those free classes that they post, she posts them on the Park Society Facebook page every week on Mondays. So, check that out and see what's current. Thank you for doing that, Magali. Thank you. Tad.
A couple items. First off, George, where are you from? Where are you living?
I live in Suffolk in the United Kingdom.
Okay, you're not, and at this time, you're not a member of the society?
That's
Not yet, no.
That's on my list for this week.
Okay.
I've been a very, very bad boy
Okay.
reaching out to George and to others, but that's on my new AI improved scheduled list.
Okay.
So you'll be hearing from me, George.
The person who identifies himself as a Zoom user, the gentleman, can you identify yourself?
Oh, that's Ken Maybe.
You're muted.
1490.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Okay. And there's a Susan Parke, who's just got audio. Can you identify yourself?
I don't remember my number. It's 15 something or other.
Where are you located?
I'm in California and my husband was Michael Park, who's long gone now.
Okay. All right. That gives me enough information then. Okay.
He'll find
Thank
you.
Yep.
Thank you.
On the backing up, yes, that's something that we can never talk about often enough. And here I have, I back up to both Carbonite and to SOS Online. And those are continuous backups of all my document files, as well as my, I use Thunderbird for my email. That gets backed up also. And I also have a hard drive attached to the computer that continuously picks up changes and files that I can go back to. And to be honest, yes, it saved my backside more than once, because I'll do something and I'll hit the wrong key and I'll delete something. And so, I've been able to go back and capture it from either SOS or Carbonite, and that's been a savior for me. Of course, I'm one of these old farts. I like hard copies. And I still think that, electronically things can happen to files, things can happen to computers. And sometimes I like having the hard copy. I know there are other people in the society who think, my gosh, he's still using hard copies. But that's where I feel the most safe, because if need be, I can go back to that and recreate whatever I need to recreate. So,
but Tad, I would point out things can happen to hard copies too.
That's true. Hopefully not everything gets done in.
I mean, have we ever heard of a burned courthouse?
Yeah.
Those of us who research in the South are familiar with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or worms and floods.
Yeah.
Yeah, and worms. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah, if you've got the resources and the space, certainly Tad has a huge house. He can, I just purchased, I should move the camera, but I just purchased a new scanner. It's called a Caesar, CZUR. I have yet to hook it up. It's on my schedule for this week, but supposedly it's very quick. You can supposedly scan a 300-page book in 10 minutes. It will create a, a PDF document. It can be word searchable, uses AI to flatten the pages on all this kind of stuff. And what I'm going to do, one of the main reasons I bought it is, I have the Park Society library here in my house. It's sitting in 8 storage bins, in which does not flood, but certainly, but many of those books, were privately printed in the 60s, 70s, 80s, even later. And you'd be hard pressed, I think, to find another copy in some places. Maybe in the Family Search Library in Salt Lake City, Wayne County, Allen County Public Library might have one, things like that. But our collection, I'm going to work my way through this winter and digitize all of that, so that should something happen to those hard copies in the future, we'll still have them. And there are a considerable number I went through of things in there that are in the public domain. They're not copyright protected. And when I get those digitized, we will put those on the website. The others, unfortunately, we can't. I've tried to search and find workarounds, or considering it a loan, which we do. You can loan a hard copy of a book, which we do, but you can't loan a digital copy of a book. But at least they'll be safe, theoretically, somewhere, as long as I back up.
And Ken, that might be something. I think they're going, the laws haven't kept up with copyright law, and things of that nature. So it might be something in the future that changes to about, like a library lending a copy of a hardbound book. Same thing, I know happens with certain libraries, but whether or not we could find out whether we can consider our library something that could make those types of loans. It is something, that I think the laws will begin to change more and more.
Well, you're an attorney, so I say, go for it, check that out. That's not my area of expertise. I've been years ago to a session or two of Judy Russell's. If you're familiar, we talked about the legal genealogist, and she is a real expert and bugaboo about copyright.
No, absolutely.
But it's a tricky field, and we certainly never want to put the society in any sort of legal jeopardy.
And that's another great site too for people to go to. I go there quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, we plug her here occasionally.
all the time.
If you haven't checked her out, Judy G. Russell, the legal genealogist. She has a blog. She's a frequent speaker. She really makes her living. She's a former federal prosecutor. She knows the law, not just the current law, but the history of law. She knows that subject inside and out. Every time I attend one of her presentations, I just come away absolutely blown away by how much she knows. So check her out, because she posts about and presents, and some of her presentations are on Legacy Family Tree webinars. And personally, I think she's probably, if not the best speaker in the genealogy world, certainly in the top 3. She's a very, very good speaker, in addition to just knowing her stuff upside down, inside out, backwards and forwards. So
and I for those of us in the United States, she's an invaluable resource. I don't know that she holds herself to the same, would be able to advise on.
I think she's got a pretty good grasp on
Okay.
on other countries, certainly English common law, because that's the basis for our legal system here, except in Louisiana, which is based on the French I forget the term for it, but yeah, but so she has I think a good grasp and probably some of the history of the legal profession in the British Isles. So, well, is anything else? Otherwise, we're sort of approaching the hour-and-a-half mark, and
Just one thing for you.
sure.
I got hold of Glenys in Australia.
Yeah.
And she's put her dad back on the
Right.
society.
Right, and I will be reaching out to her this week as well. And just note, we have created something called the International Given Name Index here in the society, as opposed to our rather large Given Name Index, which is primarily North American lineages. And so I have created a lineage key for your line already in Aberdeenshire, and I've been working, I've extracted baptisms and marriages from Aberdeenshire over whatever's available, and using that in addition to posted information on your line and others at Glenys's, and filling out that, and I'll get that online pretty soon. The master file is what we work with here, and it's available to staff members, but in terms of the general public and the membership, the version we're putting online, it has all of information about anyone born after 1920 has been removed just for privacy reasons, even if they're deceased. It's just a cleaner cutoff that way. But so yeah, I'll be in touch this week and send you a link to that when I get it up and running.
Right.
So
Hey,
that's
Ken,
all.
Ken,
Yeah.
this doesn't apply to everyone, obviously. I don't know if you want to mention the meeting tomorrow morning.
Well, it's basically just staff and board members, but yeah, I just recently also created a recurring meeting on Zoom just for those of us, in the administrative part of the society, to be able to get together on a weekly basis, or a regular basis, or an irregular basis, just to touch base. It's just an easy way. It's like, gathering in the break room, and just, informally. It's not a set meeting, with an agenda and that sort of thing. So we'll see how that works out. I just thought it's to me that it's a better way or easier way to communicate, rather than writing emails and having email threads to keep up with and that sort of thing. So
Does that extend to the new DNA co-admins also, or is that a separate meeting?
well, I think at some point we can set up meetings that way. And again, the way I've set this Zoom recurring meeting up, we can use that same link anytime, any day of the week, multiple times. It doesn't have to be used for only one purpose. So yeah, as I hopefully begin to get my act together, thanks to AI, I'm really putting a lot of faith and trust in that. Then yeah, we'll be going forward with the whole group leader, lineage leader concept. But we need to sort of work out in advance just how that's going to work, because in the past, as I said, it's been kind of a loose structure, and just depended on the individuals involved. But we want to try to set up some guidelines and procedures so that everybody kind of knows how it's all going to work before we sort of make it go really public with it. But I will say, I think we've set up February town hall meeting, and we'll put that out there well in advance, is going to be devoted to, and we're going to do 3 of these at least in the coming year, in 2026, a town hall meeting devoted and focused on a particular DNA group and the lineage in there. And so well in advance, we'll get in touch with everybody involved in the DNA project, everybody involved in Parke Society, that it belongs to those lineage keys, that so that everybody can come together, and the DNA administrators will be on hand, Tad will be there, and the associated group leader, lineage leader will be there. And it will be, I hope, a great opportunity to really communicate with each other, assess where we are and where we want to go, and figure out ways. And again, collaborate, because that's what the society should be about. So we need to find ways to put people together who have common interests and help them facilitate, making progress. Because we certainly can't do all of that for you, and it's never really been the society's function to do research for people. But if we can make it easier and put people together, I would love to see, progress made through some of these things. So, coming attractions, you'll hear more about it. We'll send out things in the MailChimp emails soon. So, well, if there's nothing else, thank you all very much for coming. It's a great turnout, and appreciate your giving us your time and attention on this. What here was a beautiful Sunday afternoon, fall. Skies were just blue, blue, blue. There wasn't a cloud in the sky.
It's already getting dark here.
Well, yeah, here too.
Yeah, here too.
Hello, fall and winter, right?
For
The
the,
short days of winter.
yeah, the folks overseas are already well into the evening. So
Yes.
Yeah.
And let's see, I see a cocktail in my future in a few minutes. So until next month, and
Okay.
again, anytime anyone has a idea for a topic or anything like that, get in touch. We are always looking for things to talk about that are of interest to people. So
Thank you for your presentation tonight.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you so much. Very interesting.
it was a pleasure. We'll see you all.
Okay.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Tad, Susan, some of you others, I'll see you tomorrow morning, okay?
Yep, yep.
Okie doke. Signing off.